Sarah Chen pressed her forehead against the cold window of the transport ship and watched the Kepler 442 station grow larger. She had dreamed about this moment for 3 years. The Galactic Youth Development Academy was the most famous school in known space. It taught young aliens from 47 different species. And now finally she was going there. She was the first human ever accepted into their xenobiology program. When the acceptance message arrived on Earth, her entire university had thrown a party. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Most aliens saw Earth as a small, unimportant planet on the edge of nowhere. But Sarah had worked hard. She had studied 17 alien languages. She had read every research paper about alien child development she could find. The transport ship docked with a soft thud. Sarah grabbed her bags and stepped into the station. The air smelled strange, like copper and flowers mixed together. The gravity felt slightly wrong, making her steps bouncy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past her. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like walking crystals. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms approached her. "Sarah Chen?" it asked in perfect English. "Yes, that's me," Sarah said. "I am Administrator Kelvin. Welcome to Kepler 442. Please follow me. I will show you to your quarters and give you a tour." Sarah followed Kelvin through the winding corridors of the station. The administrator explained the layout, the schedule, and the rules. Sarah tried to remember everything, but her head spun with information. She had barely slept during the 3-day journey from Earth. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed on the walls. Kelvin's forearms tensed. "Not again," the administrator muttered. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, her heart racing. "The Vraxian cubs. They are having another episode." "This has been happening for weeks." Kelvin looked tired. "Come, you might as well see what we deal with." They hurried through several corridors and entered a large room. Sarah's eyes went wide. The room was chaos. 23 small reptilian creatures, each about the size of a large dog, ran around screaming. They had dark green scales and sharp claws. Some scratched at the walls. Others bit at the protective suits of the caretakers, trying to calm them. The sound they made was terrible, a high-pitched shrieking that hurt Sarah's ears. 5 caretakers from different species tried to control the situation. Nothing worked. One caretaker tried offering food. The cubs knocked it away. Another tried playing calming music. The cubs screamed louder. A third tried using a chemical spray that was supposed to relax them. The cubs only became more agitated. "This is impossible," one caretaker said, backing away from a cub that snapped at his leg. "We need to sedate them again." "No," another caretaker said. "We have sedated them too many times. It is not healthy for their development." "Then what do you suggest?" The first caretaker shouted over the noise. Sarah watched from the doorway. Her head pounded from the alarm and the screaming. She felt dizzy from exhaustion and the strange gravity. Her legs felt weak. She needed to sit down before she fell down. She spotted a clear space against the far wall and made her way toward it carefully. She slid down the wall and sat on the floor, pulling her knees to her chest. She closed her eyes and took deep breaths, trying to calm her racing heart. The noise was overwhelming. Sarah did what her mother used to do when she was scared as a child. She started humming. It was an old lullaby from Earth. Something about stars and moonlight. She hummed it quietly, just for herself, just to feel better. She felt something touch her leg. Sarah opened her eyes. One of the Vraxian cubs stood in front of her. It had stopped screaming. Its large yellow eyes stared at her with curiosity. The cub tilted its head to one side. Sarah froze. She did not want to scare it. Slowly, very slowly, she reached out her hand. The cub sniffed her fingers. Then it made a soft chirping sound and pressed its scaly head against her palm. "Hello there," Sarah whispered. She kept humming softly. Another cub approached. Then another. Within a minute, 5 cubs surrounded her. They stopped screaming. They made quiet, gentle sounds. One curled up beside her leg. Another rested its head on her knee. The caretakers noticed. They stopped moving. They stopped talking. They stared. Sarah kept humming. She gently stroked the head of the nearest cub. More cubs came over. They pushed against each other, trying to get closer to her. Soon, all 23 cubs gathered around Sarah. The terrible screaming stopped completely. The room became quiet except for Sarah's soft humming and the gentle breathing of the cubs. Administrator Kelvin's mouth hung open. "How did you do that?" Sarah looked up, confused. "Do what? I just sat down. I was tired. You made them calm." No one has been able to calm them for 3 weeks, not since their primary caretaker got sick. One of the caretakers, a being covered in orange fur, came closer. "What did you do, human? What technique did you use?" "I didn't do anything," Sarah said. "I just hummed a song. I was humming it for myself because I felt overwhelmed." "Hum it again," Kelvin said. "Please." Sarah hummed the lullaby again. The cubs that had started to move away returned to her side. They settled down, some closing their eyes. One cub climbed into her lap. It was heavier than she expected, but Sarah did not push it away. The caretakers looked at each other with shock and wonder. The orange-furred one tapped on a device. "I am recording this. The science team needs to see it." "What is the song?" Kelvin asked. "It's just an old Earth lullaby," Sarah explained. "My mother used to sing it to me when I was little. It's called Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." "Well, I'm humming it." "The words are about wondering what stars are." "Stars?" one caretaker repeated. "Why would a child-soothing song be about stars?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted. "It's just what humans sing to children. We have many songs like this." Kelvin knelt down to look at Sarah and the cubs more closely. "Can you stay here for a while? Can you keep doing what you are doing?" "I'm very tired," Sarah said. "I haven't slept in almost 30 hours. We will bring you a chair, comfortable cushions, food and water, whatever you need, please." Sarah looked down at the cubs. They looked so peaceful now. One was definitely sleeping, its chest rising and falling slowly. She thought about the screaming, the chaos, the stressed caretakers. If she could help, shouldn't she? "Okay," she said. "I can stay for a bit." What Sarah did not know was that this moment would change everything. Not just for her, not just for the Academy, but for all of humanity's place in the galaxy. She was too tired to think about the future. She just kept humming her simple Earth song while alien cubs slept peacefully against her. The caretakers stood in a circle around her, watching like she was performing magic. In a way, maybe she was. News traveled fast on Kepler 442 station. By the next morning, everyone knew about the human who calmed the Vraxian cubs. Sarah woke up in her new quarters to find 17 messages waiting for her. All of them were requests. Could she visit the Lutheran hatchlings? They had been making terrible sounds for days. Could she spend time with the Delphi fry? They kept trying to escape their water tanks. Could she please help with the Corthian spawn? They were biting their handlers and drawing blood. Sarah sat on her bed and stared at the messages. She had come here to study, not to be a babysitter. But the messages sounded desperate. She remembered the relief on the caretakers' faces yesterday. She remembered the peaceful cubs. She decided to help, just to see if yesterday was a one-time thing or something real. The Lutheran hatchlings were kept in a room filled with bright light. They looked like small pyramids made of pink crystal. When Sarah entered, they were all vibrating and making a sound like breaking glass. The noise made her teeth hurt. 3 caretakers stood in the corner wearing ear protection. When they saw Sarah, they looked hopeful but doubtful. Humans were unknown. Maybe yesterday was just luck. Sarah did not know what to do. She felt awkward. But she remembered what worked before. She sat down on the floor. She started humming the same lullaby. The sound of breaking glass got quieter. The hatchling stopped vibrating so violently. They turned toward her if crystals could turn. Slowly, they began to move across the floor. They surrounded her in a circle. The terrible sound changed into something soft and musical like wind chimes. One caretaker removed their ear protection. "Incredible," they whispered. The Delphi fry were harder. They lived in a large tank of purple water. They looked like tadpoles but with tentacles. When Sarah arrived, they were throwing themselves against the glass walls of their tank, over and over. "They are trying to escape," their caretaker explained. She was an aquatic being herself, floating in a water-filled suit. "We do not know why. They have everything they need." Sarah looked at the tank. She could not get in the water with them. She did not have the right equipment. But she could sit beside the tank. She pressed her hand against the glass and hummed. The fry stopped throwing themselves at the walls. They swam toward the glass where Sarah sat. They pressed their small bodies against the other side, right where her hand was. They stayed there, floating peacefully. The caretaker's voice crackled through her suit speaker. "I have worked with Delphi Young for 12 years. I have never seen this." By the end of the week, Sarah had visited younglings of 9 different species. The results were always the same. The young aliens calmed down when she was near. It did not matter if she hummed, sang, or just talked softly. It did not matter if she touched them or just sat nearby. Her presence made them peaceful. The Academy's science team started running tests. They tested Sarah's blood, her breath, her skin. They measured her brainwaves and her heart rate. They recorded her voice from every angle. They made her sit in special rooms while they scanned her with equipment she did not understand. Dr. Milvex led the research team. He was a thin, insect-like being with large, compound eyes. He seemed excited and confused at the same time. "Your species is remarkable," he told Sarah one day, showing her screens full of data she could not read. "You produce specific pheromones that register as safety signals to juvenile neural systems across multiple species classifications. Your vocal frequencies hit a range that triggers calming responses in young beings. Even your electromagnetic field seems to broadcast parental proximity markers." "I don't understand," Sarah said. "Can you explain it in simpler words?" Dr. Milvex thought for a moment. "Your body sends out signals. These signals say you are safe, an adult is here, everything is okay. Young aliens, many different types, understand these signals automatically. It is built into their brains. They cannot help but feel calm around you. But why? Humans and these aliens evolved on completely different worlds. How can our signals match?" "That is what makes this extraordinary," Milvex said. "We believe it is because humans evolved as social caregivers and persistence hunters. You needed to keep your young safe for very long childhoods. You needed to work together in groups. Your bodies learned to send powerful calming and bonding signals. These signals are so strong, so clear that they work across species boundaries." Sarah thought about this. Humans did have long childhoods compared to many animals on Earth. Human babies were helpless for years. Maybe her ancestors, who were best at calming children, had survived better. Maybe those traits got stronger and stronger over thousands of generations. "So any human can do this?" she asked. "That is what we need to discover," Milvex said. The Galactic Council sent a request to Earth. They wanted more humans to come to the Academy for testing. 5 more humans arrived 2 weeks later. They were all different ages and backgrounds. 3 of them had children of their own. 2 did not. The results surprised everyone. 2 of the humans had the same effect as Sarah. The young aliens calmed around them immediately. The other 3 humans had some effect, but not as strong. The aliens calmed down a bit, but not completely. "It appears not all humans have the same level of this ability," Dr. Milvex explained. "Some are stronger. Some are weaker. We do not yet know why." One of the humans who had a strong effect was Marcus, a former teacher from Brazil. He laughed when he saw the alien cubs respond to him. "I always thought I was good with kids," he said. "I guess I was right." The other was Elena, a grandmother from Russia who had raised 6 children. She cried when the Vraxian cubs curled up around her. "They are just babies," she said softly. "Poor little babies, away from their families." Sarah felt relieved that she was not alone anymore. But she also felt overwhelmed. Every day brought more requests. More species wanted to try working with human caretakers. More parents wanted to send their children to the Academy now that humans were there. Sarah barely had time for her studies. She had come to learn, but instead she spent all day going from room to room, calming distressed young aliens. She fell asleep exhausted every night. During one particularly long day, Sarah was working with a group of young Corthians. They were the most difficult species yet. They looked like small bears covered in scales, and they had sharp teeth. They were aggressive by nature, but even they became gentle around Sarah. She had been with them for 3 hours. She was tired and hungry. She stood up to take a break. Immediately, all 12 Corthian spawns started growling and moving toward her. They did not want her to leave. "I need to rest," Sarah told them gently, but they did not understand her words. They only knew that the safe feeling was going away. One of the spawn grabbed her leg with its claws, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to hold her. The others pressed close, surrounding her. Sarah felt panic rise in her chest. She was trapped. She looked at the caretaker for help. The caretaker moved forward carefully. "It is all right. They will not hurt you. They just do not want you to go." "But I need to leave," Sarah said. Her voice shook. "I'm so tired. I haven't eaten. I need a break." It took 20 minutes to calm the spawn enough to leave the room. When Sarah finally got out, she went straight to her quarters. She lay on her bed and cried. She felt used. She felt like a tool, not a person. She had come to the Academy to learn and grow. Instead, she was becoming a prisoner of her own strange human gift. Administrator Kelvin found Sarah in the station's observation lounge 3 days later. She sat alone, staring out at the stars. She had dark circles under her eyes. She looked thinner than when she arrived. "May I sit?" Kelvin asked. Sarah nodded without looking away from the stars. Kelvin sat down, folding all forearms carefully. "You have been avoiding your schedule. You missed 5 appointments today." "I know," Sarah said quietly. "I'm sorry. I just needed a break." "You do not need to apologize. I came to apologize to you." Kelvin's voice was gentle. "We have been thoughtless. We saw what you could do, and we asked you to do it over and over. We did not think about what it was costing you." Sarah finally looked at the administrator. "I want to help. I really do. But I'm one person. I can't be everywhere. I can't work every hour of every day. I came here to study, but I haven't attended a single class. I'm just going from room to room, calming upset children." "I know," Kelvin said. "The director and I had a meeting this morning. We made some decisions. Changes that should help." "What kind of changes?" "First, we are limiting your hours. You will work no more than 6 hours per day. Second, we are hiring more human caretakers. Earth has agreed to send 15 more people. Third, and most important, we are changing how the entire academy operates." Sarah raised her eyebrows. "What do you mean?" Kelvin pulled out a data pad and showed her a schedule. "This is the new academy schedule. Do you see this block from 2 to 4 in the afternoon?" "Yes, that is your nap time." Sarah blinked. "My what?" "Your nap time. Every day from 2 to 4 station time, you will rest. And while you rest, the entire academy will have quiet time. No loud activities, no stressful lessons, no physical training. The young ones will have calm activities, reading time, or their own rest periods." "You're scheduling the entire academy around my nap?" Sarah could not believe what she was hearing. "Yes. And it is not just for you. Dr. Milvex and his team have reviewed the data. Young beings learn better when they have regular rest periods. Humans have known this for thousands of years. Your species has always given children nap times. But many of our species forgot this. We pushed the young ones too hard. Your presence made us see that calm, rested children behave better and learn better." Sarah looked at the schedule again. She saw other changes too. More breaks throughout the day, shorter class periods, time built in for play and relaxation. "Won't some people be angry about this?" she asked. "Won't they think it's unfair that one person gets special treatment?" "Some did complain at first," Kelvin admitted. "But then we showed them the results. Since you arrived, stress incidents have dropped by 94%. Medical visits for anxiety and aggression in young ones have nearly stopped. Test scores have improved. Parents are reporting that their children are happier. The data is clear. Having you here, having you rested and healthy, benefits everyone." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you. I was starting to feel like a machine, like my only value was what I could do for others." "You are not a machine. You are a living being who deserves respect and rest. We forgot that. We will not forget again." The new schedule started the next day. Sarah slept from 2 to 4, and during that time the academy transformed. The halls were quiet. Young aliens read books or played calm games. Some napped themselves. Caretakers used the time to catch up on paperwork or rest too. The change affected more than just the schedule. Species that used to fight when put together could now share spaces. The calmer environment reduced territorial behavior. A group of Vraxian cubs and Lutheran hatchlings were in the same room for the first time ever. They played together peacefully. Word spread through the galaxy fast. The Galactic Council received reports about the changes at Kepler 442. Other educational facilities wanted to know how it was done. They wanted to implement the same system. Earth's value in the galactic community changed overnight. For centuries, other species had seen humans as primitive and unimportant. Earth had no special technology. Humans were not particularly strong or fast. They did not have natural weapons or armor. But now, everyone wanted human caretakers. Sarah began training the new human arrivals. She taught them what she had learned. Some humans could just sit quietly and children calmed. Others needed to hum or sing. Each human seemed to have their own way of connecting with the young aliens. Marcus discovered that he was best with active, energetic species. He played games with them that burned off their energy in positive ways. Elena was best with the very young, the babies who could barely move. She held them and rocked them, and they became peaceful. Sarah found that she was best at training other humans and creating systems. She liked organizing schedules and solving problems. She worked with Dr. Milvex to record data and develop protocols. "We should write a book," Milvex said one day. "A guide for human caretakers working with alien young. We could call it Chen's method after you." "Why after me? Marcus and Elena are just as important. But you were first. You showed us what was possible. That is worth remembering." Sarah thought about refusing, but then she realized something. If they wrote a guide, if they made this knowledge available, more humans could do this work. More young aliens could benefit. It was not about glory. It was about helping. "Okay," she said. "Let's write it together." They spent 6 months collecting data and writing. They interviewed all the human caretakers. They studied which techniques worked best for which species. They created training programs. The guide became required reading for anyone working with young aliens. Facilities across the galaxy requested copies. Human caretakers became some of the most respected and well-paid workers in the education field. But not everything was positive. Some aliens grew concerned about human influence. If humans could affect children so easily, could they use this ability for bad purposes? Could they manipulate young minds? A group of Korthian military leaders sent a formal complaint to the Galactic Council. They argued that humans should be restricted. Their ability was too powerful, too dangerous. Sarah read the complaint and felt cold fear in her stomach. She had spent months building this new life. She had found a way to help and be happy at the same time. Were they going to take it away? Administrator Kelvin called an emergency meeting with all the human caretakers. They gathered in a private room. "The council is taking the Korthian complaint seriously," Kelvin said. "They want to hold hearings. They want to understand the risks before humans are allowed to work with children across the galaxy." "But we're helping," Marcus said, anger in his voice. "Every day we help. How can they see that as dangerous?" "Fear," Elena said quietly. "They are afraid because they do not understand." "Fear makes people see threats where none exist." Sarah stood up. "Then we need to make them understand. We need to go to the council and explain. We need to show them that we're not dangerous. We're just trying to care for children." Kelvin looked at her with all 4 eyes. "Are you willing to testify? To speak in front of the entire Galactic Council?" Sarah's heart pounded. She was not good at public speaking. The council included representatives from hundreds of worlds. But she thought about the cubs sleeping peacefully. She thought about the parents who thanked her for helping their children. She thought about Marcus and Elena, and all the other humans who had found purpose here. "Yes," she said. "I'll do it." "Good," Kelvin said. "Because the future of human involvement in galactic childcare depends on what you say." The night before the council hearing, Sarah could not sleep. She sat in her quarters going over her speech again and again. She had to explain something complex in simple words. She had to make hundreds of different species understand what it meant to be human and to care for children. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Elena. "I brought tea," the older woman said, holding up 2 cups. "Earth tea. I had some sent from home." They sat together, drinking the warm tea. It tasted like comfort and safety. "Are you scared?" Elena asked. "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "What if I say the wrong thing? What if I make it worse? Then we go home to Earth and continue our lives there," Elena said simply. "We are not trapped here. We choose to be here. Remember that. You are not a slave. You are not owned. You are a free person who decided to help. That is what you must make them understand." Sarah nodded. Elena's words helped. She was choosing this. She had the right to choose. The council chamber was the largest room Sarah had ever seen. It was circular with seating that rose up in levels like a stadium. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in their designated areas. Some wore breathing apparatus. Some floated in tanks. Some were so large they needed special platforms. Others were so small they could barely be seen. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber, alone under bright lights. She felt very small. The council speaker, an ancient being that looked like a walking tree, addressed her. Sarah Chen of Earth, you speak for all humans who work with our young. The council has concerns. We must know if your species poses a threat. Sarah took a deep breath. Thank you for hearing me. I understand your concerns. When something new appears, something you don't understand, it's natural to be worried. But I want to explain what we do and why we do it. She pressed a button and images appeared on screens around the chamber. Pictures of human parents with their babies. Pictures of children playing. Pictures of families. Humans have long childhoods. Human babies are born helpless. They cannot walk. They cannot feed themselves. They cannot survive alone for many years. This is unusual in nature. Many species have young who can run and eat within hours or days of birth. Human babies are different. She showed more images, charts and graphs that Dr. Milvex had helped her prepare. Because of this, humans had to become very good at caregiving. The humans who were best at calming babies, at making children feel safe, at keeping them alive through long, helpless years, those humans survived. Their children survived. Over thousands of generations, this ability got stronger. Our bodies learned to send powerful safety signals. We learned to be patient. We learned to sacrifice our own needs for our children. A representative from the Korthian Empire stood up. He was large and covered in armored plates. But this ability could be used as a weapon. You could use it to control our children, to make them loyal to Earth instead of their own worlds. Sarah looked directly at him. Could we? Technically, maybe. But we don't. Let me ask you something. On your world, do you have beings who are stronger than others? Of course. Do you have beings who are smarter than others? Yes. Do you have beings with natural weapons, claws, or teeth? Naturally. Then by your logic, all strong beings are dangerous. All smart beings could manipulate others. All beings with claws could hurt someone. Should you lock them all away? Should you ban them from society? The Korthian representative sat down, looking thoughtful. Sarah continued. Every ability can be misused. But we judge people by their actions, not by what they could potentially do. Humans have been working with your children for almost a year now. In that time, have we manipulated anyone? Have we tried to control minds? Have we done anything except help children feel safe and learn better? Silence filled the chamber. No one could point to a single case of abuse or manipulation. We ask children to trust us, Sarah said. That is all. And trust is a gift. It must be earned every day. It can be broken in an instant. We know this. We respect this. Every human caretaker understands that we are guests in your children's lives. We are here to help, not to control. The council speaker leaned forward. But what about payment? What do humans want in return for this service? The same thing any worker wants. Fair payment, respect, reasonable hours. The right to say no. We want to be treated as people, not as tools. That is why I am proposing the Human Caregiver Accord. Sarah displayed a document on the screens. She had worked on it for weeks with lawyers and advisors. This accord establishes rights for human caretakers. It limits work hours. It requires fair compensation. It protects humans from being forced to work against their will. It establishes that we are independent contractors, not property. It requires informed consent from both the humans and the families who employ us. She looked around the chamber. Some of you may think this is asking too much. But let me be clear. Without these protections, humans will stop coming to your worlds. We will not be slaves. We will not be used. We will only work where we are respected and valued. A small representative from a species Sarah did not recognize spoke up. But we need you. Our children need you. You have made such a difference. And we want to keep making a difference, Sarah said. That is why we need the accord. We want this to be sustainable. We want human caregivers to be happy and healthy, so they can continue helping for years to come. Exhausted, exploited workers help no one. But respected, well-treated workers can change the galaxy. The council speaker called for a recess. Sarah was escorted to a waiting room. Marcus and Elena were there along with Administrator Kelvin. You did well, Kelvin said. Very well. Will it be enough? Sarah asked. We will see. 3 hours later, Sarah was called back. The council had made its decision. The council speaker stood. The Galactic Council has reviewed your proposal and your testimony. We have decided to accept the Human Caregiver Accord with some additions. Human caretakers will be protected workers. They will have full rights and fair compensation. Additionally, Earth will gain a seat on the Council's Education Committee. Your species has taught us much about child development. We want to learn more. Relief flooded through Sarah. She had done it. They had done it. But as she was leaving the chamber, something happened. A group of Korthian soldiers appeared, blocking her path. The leader grabbed her arm roughly. "You think you won?" he growled. "You think your words protect you? The Empire does not accept this. We need human caretakers, but we will not beg for them." "Let her go," Kelvin shouted, moving forward, but more soldiers appeared. They dragged Sarah down a side corridor. She tried to fight, but they were too strong. They threw her into a small ship. The engines roared to life. Sarah realized with horror what was happening. She was being kidnapped. The ship lurched into motion. Through the window, Sarah saw the station growing smaller. She saw other ships giving chase, but the Korthian vessel was fast. Fear gripped her heart. She had stood before the council and spoken of rights and respect. She had believed that her words would protect her. But in the end, some beings did not care about words. They only cared about power. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. The stars became streaks. Sarah curled up in the corner of the cell they had thrown her in. She thought about the cubs back at the academy. She thought about her parents on Earth. She thought about how she might never see them again. She had been so sure that being useful would keep her safe. But now she understood the dark truth. Sometimes being valuable made you a target. Sarah spent 2 days in that cell. The Korthian soldiers brought her food and water but said nothing. She tried to stay calm, but fear ate at her. What did they want? What would they do to her? On the 3rd day, the door opened. A tall Korthian in decorated armor entered. He looked important, maybe a general or commander. "I am General Vorkath," he said. "I apologize for the crude methods. But you must understand our position. The Empire needs human caretakers. Your council imposed restrictions. We cannot accept being told what we can and cannot do. So you kidnapped me?" Sarah's voice shook with anger and fear. "We are showing strength. When the council sees that we have you, they will negotiate. They will give us what we want. And what do you want? Human caretakers without restrictions. Without limits. We have a program to train young Korthians as soldiers from age 3. With humans calming them, we can push them harder. Train them longer. Create the perfect army," horror filled Sarah. "You want to use us to make child soldiers? That's monstrous. That is survival. The Empire has enemies. We must be strong. I won't help you. I'll never help you do that to children." Vorkath smiled, showing sharp teeth. "You will not have a choice. We have scientists studying how your ability works. Soon we will understand it. We will replicate it. We will not need your cooperation." He left. Sarah sat in the dark cell and cried. She thought about all those young Korthians being pushed beyond their limits, unable to resist because human abilities made them compliant. It was a nightmare. But then she heard sounds outside, alarms, shouting, weapons fire. The door burst open, but it was not Korthians. It was a rescue team. Council security forces, along with Administrator Kelvin and a squad of heavily armed soldiers from different species. "Sarah." Kelvin rushed forward. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay." "How did you find me?" "We tracked the ship. The Council authorized a rescue mission. The Korthian Empire acted without official approval. This was a rogue military faction. They evacuated her quickly. The Korthian ship was captured. General Vorkath and his soldiers were arrested. Sarah was safe, but she was shaken. Back at Kepler 442 station, she gave testimony about what Vorkath had told her. The council was outraged. The Korthian Empire's official government apologized and arrested more members of the rogue faction, but the incident changed everything. The galaxy now understood that humans needed protection. Not just legal protection, but real security. The Human Caregiver Accord was strengthened with new clauses. Human caretakers would have security details. They would have the right to refuse any assignment. They would be monitored to ensure their safety. Sarah thought about leaving, going back to Earth where things were simpler and safer. But when she saw the cubs at the academy, when she saw Marcus teaching a class, when she saw Elena rocking a tiny hatchling to sleep, she knew she could not abandon this. Instead, she asked for a new role. "I don't want to be a full-time caretaker anymore," she told the academy director. "I want to train others. I want to develop better systems. I want to make sure this work is done safely and ethically." The director agreed immediately. Sarah became the director of interspecies early development. She would oversee all human caretakers at Kepler 442 and develop training programs for the entire galaxy. 3 years passed. The academy grew. They now employed 47 human caretakers, each with different specialties. They discovered that some humans were naturally better with aquatic species. Others connected more with crystalline life forms. Some were patient with slow-developing species. Others thrived with energetic, active children. Sarah's training program became the standard across hundreds of worlds. Chen's method was taught in universities. The book she wrote with Dr. Milvex became a bestseller. But Sarah's favorite time was still from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Her nap time, the time when the entire academy went quiet. On this particular afternoon, Sarah was not napping. She was walking through the peaceful hallways, observing. The Vraxian cubs were reading together in their room. The Lutheran hatchlings hummed soft songs to each other. The Delphi fry floated calmly in their tank. She stopped at a window overlooking the play area. Mixed groups of young aliens played together. A Vraxian cub carefully stacked blocks with a Lutheran hatchling. A Korthian spawn shared toys with a Delphi youngling who had graduated to a mobile water suit. 3 years ago, such a scene would have been impossible. Different species stayed separated, but humans had taught them something important. Rest was necessary. Calm was valuable. Kindness was possible. Sarah felt someone approach. It was a young Vraxian, one of the original cubs who had calmed around her on her first day. He was bigger now, almost adolescent. "Director Chen," he said in careful English. "May I speak with you?" "Of course. What is it?" "I wanted to say thank you. I do not remember much from when I was very small. But I remember you. I remember feeling safe. You taught me that safety is important, that rest is not weakness. I want to be a teacher when I grow up. I want to help others feel safe like you helped me." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. This was why she stayed. Not for the prestige or the important title. Not even for the chance to study alien species. But for moments like this, for knowing that she had helped. "You will be an excellent teacher," she told him. The young Vraxian smiled and returned to his friends. Sarah continued her walk. She passed Marcus's classroom where he was teaching a group of energetic young aliens about Earth animals. She passed Elena's nursery, where she rocked a tiny being to sleep while humming an old Russian lullaby. She reached her office and found a group of young aliens waiting outside her door. They were from different species. They carried handmade gifts, artwork, and crafts they had made during quiet time. "We made these for you," a small Lutheran hatchling said, her crystalline voice chiming. "Because you teach us it is okay to rest. You rest, so we learn we can rest too." Sarah knelt down to their level. She accepted each gift with thanks. A drawing of her surrounded by cubs. A sculpture made of colored clay. A poem written in 3 languages. "You are all so thoughtful," she said. "Thank you. Will you rest now?" a Korthian youngster asked. "It is your rest time. We can wait until after." Sarah looked at the young faces watching her with concern. They had learned to care for others by being cared for. They had learned that everyone, even the strong ones, needed rest. "Yes," she said. "I will rest now. And you should all have quiet activities too. Rest is not just for me. It is for everyone." They nodded seriously and began to leave. But the young Vraxian who had spoken to her earlier stayed behind. "Director Chen, will you tell us a story later? About Earth? About human children?" "Yes," Sarah promised. "After rest time I will tell you stories." She entered her office and closed the door. Through the window she could see the station orbiting a distant planet. She could see ships coming and going. Somewhere on those ships were more humans coming to work with alien children. Somewhere on distant worlds, human caretakers were helping young beings feel safe. Sarah lay down on the comfortable couch she kept in her office. She set an alarm for 2 hours, and then she did what the entire academy did during this time. She rested. Outside, the hallways were quiet. Young aliens read books, drew pictures, napped, or sat in peaceful contemplation. Caretakers caught up on paperwork or took their own breaks. The station hummed with the gentle sound of peace. 3 years ago, Sarah had been a student hoping to learn about aliens. Instead, she had taught the galaxy about humans. She had shown them that strength was not just about fighting or competing. Strength was also about caring, about resting, about knowing when to be gentle. The cubs no longer cried when she was gone. They had learned that she would always come back. They had learned that her rest time made her better at her job. They had learned that everyone deserved care and respect, including those who gave care to others, and the galaxy had learned that Earth, that small planet on the edge of nowhere, had something valuable to offer. Not weapons or technology or resources, but something more precious. The ability to make others feel safe. The wisdom to know that rest and care were not weakness but strength. Sarah drifted off to sleep, peaceful and content. In a few hours, she would wake up. She would tell stories to eager young aliens. She would review training programs and schedule meetings. She would continue her work of building bridges between species through the universal language of care. But for now, during her scheduled nap time, she rested. And the Academy, the station, and slowly the entire galaxy learned to rest with her.